Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's recording of Times Will Tell, the Times of Israel's feature piece that comes out every Friday. Today, I'm speaking to David Kichka, founder and producer of the Israeli Cuisine Festival. That's how I'm translating it into English. David, you can correct me later if you want to, which opens November 11th around Israel. It's very exciting because it really is one of these in-person events. And besides just getting to eat great food and doing other things, it means that we'll be doing this in person, which I don't know about you, but I'm very excited about that. I'm going to let David explain more about it, but in the meantime, I want to tell you who he is. David is a culinary entrepreneur, among many other things. He is the chairman of the Israeli Association for Culinary Culture, which is a pro bono position. But what does it mean? It means that he is the guy who knows pretty much everything culinary that goes on in this country. He creates experiences where diners get to taste and visit restaurants, culinary sites, tour places, and have food experiences that they may not otherwise have the opportunity to try. A little bit more about him. David grew up in Jerusalem, has lived in Paris. He is a French speaker. We'll speak more about that later. He's managed restaurants as well as, I just found this out, he was the manager of the General Office of the Parks and Nature Authority. Did I get that correct, David? Which is a very interesting piece of his background. Before he embarked on this career of showing and introducing Israeli cuisine, both locally and abroad. So we're going to welcome David, who's also known simply by many people as Kishka. How are you?
Hi, Jessica. Good.
Good.
Very happy to be here.
And we are happy to have you. I think we need to start by you talking about your last name, which is just a great last name because, you know, what do I first think of? I think of stuffed derma that often gets served in cholent in that long cooked stew.
I must say, of course, I love Kishka and I love cholent.
Of course you do.
Chamin, as we say in Hebrew.
Actually,
it's a Polish name.
Okay.
My father did his Aliyah and came to Israel from Belgium, but originally the family is a Jewish Polish family, and probably one of my ancestors was preparing and making the kishke, or maybe was a butcher. So me being in the culinary scene today in Israel, I think it was probably my destiny, you know.
It's providential. It's a fantastic name for you and what you do. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. So why don't we start off by telling us a little bit about this festival that's starting on November 11th and that has, dozens of events. It's pretty amazing. Tell us a little bit about it.
So we have actually around 50 events. And only because it's the first year and it's still a COVID year, and hopefully next year we're going to have between 150 and 200 events.
Okay.
The idea was founded before the COVID by Nirit Weiss, which is also an entrepreneur in this culinary scene.
Right.
She was doing the round table for many years and she did lots of things. And I think the next step she had in mind was to create something. We don't need the chef from abroad to come to Israel and show us something else and new, and we have to be proud of the food and the culinary culture we have. And I am one of the entrepreneurs of this festival along with her, and also Yoni Feingold, ex-owner of the Zappa. You know, the Zappa for all the concerts.
Sure.
Now the owner of a group called To Mix, which is basically a site, e-commerce that sells events. So together we decided it is really, really, really about time to create a festival, and it's called the Israeli Cuisine Festival and Awards by American Express. And I must say, I'm also very proud of American Express because we need those sponsors to let us make our dreams come true. And we wanted to put all our knowledge and all the beautiful things we have in Israel, which means the vineyards and the small producers along with the market tours, the tasting you can have all over, and of course the restaurant, the chefs, and all the surrounding of what we can say is supporting the culinary scene and the culinary culture. We have for many years work in this scene, and I think the evolution of the COVID actually bring people to admire more and more what is going on around here in Israel, but also I think we have now for the last few years we have been exporting the knowledge of the Israeli cuisine and the Israeli vibe, the Mediterranean, the happiness, the sharing food, and you can see it with Eyal Shani pitas from Singapore, Melbourne, Vienna, and Manhattan.
But or the whole also, cauliflowers, right?
Exactly,
whole,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But you can also see Gal Ben Moshe, which is actually coming on next week from Berlin. He's a Michelin star Israeli owner of a restaurant in Berlin. And of course, Asaf Granit in Paris that got his Michelin star. So I think also all over the world, people are starting to understand that this melting pot we have around here, because few will say, what is exactly Israeli cuisine?
What is Israeli cuisine?
We are so young a country, we can't, but I hear it sometimes. People have problems sometimes to understand that it's okay to be an immigrant country, and it's okay to take a little bit of the Mediterranean cuisine, because sometimes the same salad the guy eats in Cyprus, Turkey, or Greek, we eat the same. And it's okay also to have some of the Arabic and Palestinian food along with 70 or 80 Jewish cuisines that came from all over, from Uzbekistan to Morocco, Libya, France, Polish, and Brazil, Argentina, you name it, all over. And if you take all of this, this big melting pot, along with, I think, the very young, talented Israeli chef that actually like to break the rules, because we don't have so many cooking technique and rules and tradition that are old for 300, 400, or 500 years, like in France or Europe or in other cultures. So sometimes it's easier to break the rules over here, along with excellent ingredients as the olive oil. And actually, we are doing this Israeli Cuisine Festival.
You're doing a tour, right?
We're doing few tours around the olive oil, but it's on the period, really the season of the making of the olive oil.
This is the season, right?
Mm-hmm. This is the season, and so we bring all the excellent type of Israeli olive oil to the chef to do special dishes with this. So I'm very excited because it is really the first festival that has this name of Israeli cuisine. I think it was, sometimes people get into politics and how could you say only, it's not only Israeli, it's all the region, etc. I'm tired of it, actually. I'm very proud to have the cuisine here, not as a nationalism cuisine, but I think we should be proud, of what we have around it, and it's developing in a very interesting way, I think. So I remember 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I'm 45 now, okay? I grew up in Israel. So I think we have really the last 10 years and 5 years. And also I was telling you about the COVID, that the respect to the local stuff and local products grow up. And I'm very, very proud and happy about it. And I'm also, I must say, I'm very happy to do this festival. So the restaurateur, the chef, and all the guys that are involved after terrible 2 years they had.
Sure.
And also the hotels, Dan hotels are also taking part. So I think for everybody, it's
an opportunity.
It's an opportunity and a very good way to end 2021. I must say
goodbye to 2021.
Goodbye. And on the beginning of December, we're going to have also the Israeli Cuisine Award. Because
wait, so let me pause you for a second, Kishka. So It's okay if I call you Kishka, right?
Of course.
I can call. So first, do me a favor, back up for a second, and I definitely want to talk about the awards. Let's first focus a little bit on your definition and I want to explain to listeners for a second that this whole concept of Israeli cuisine, is there such a thing as Israeli cuisine? This is something that's been debated for a long time. As Kishka points out, a lot of Israeli chefs who might live abroad and work abroad, or worked in Israel and then went to work abroad. There's a little bit of a discomfort sometimes of owning that there is such a thing as Israeli cuisine, even though there are so many chefs and so many cookbooks and so many great restaurants, because there's that sense that, because as Kishka points out, that we took from these different cuisines, therefore that means that we can't own it. So I want to ask you, though, you point to fresh vegetables, to fresh produce, you point to the olive oil. What do you think? Give us what's your definition, though, of Israeli cuisine? What is it? How do you explain it?
So, as I said, I think it's the all together. If you take
the melting pot,
the melting pot of the Jewish communities that came from 70, 80 different cuisine, okay?
Right.
And you have the Mediterranean part influence,
right?
And you have geographically and the tradition of the Arab and Palestinian cuisine around us. But then you can also take the Judaism, the kosher, the challah of the Jewish holiday, the kosher influence on the cuisine, along together with the local product, but the knowledge also of the young chefs that are studying in Europe, in big school, in Cordon Bleu, they are doing also some of them BA, MA in gastronomy, in culinary, in vineyards, and they are coming back to Israel with lots of knowledge. And honestly, you can find here gorgeous wine and excellent goat cheese and meat and vegetable and olive oil, and all together. When you gather it, it's a part of our identity, and it's a part of a culinary culture. Yes, for sure, we are very young in this culinary scene, but I think being a little bit, as I told you, breaking the rules, but also having, if I look at my friend, are sometimes all of us are a salad of origin.
Right.
One grandfather is a Greek, another one is Egyptian, another is Algerian, Polish, American. So those guys are being influenced by so many cuisine, and I think this is why people also like to come to Israel. The gastro-tourism became a big reason. I think people are coming here. Of course, we have a history and a legacy of history and holy places, but many of the people in their three the three first
the third, fourth, right?
The third in the to-do list, and sometimes it's the first or the second, is actually coming to explore Israel in a culinary way. I see it all over. I used to work with many of the tailor-made company that brings chefs and also TV channels and journalists from all over. I did it also for the Ministry of Tourism, and I think we really have a very interesting culinary scene around here, and people understand more and more it is a part of our identity. So, I think we have to show it up.
Hi, this is Raoul Woodcliffe, the producer of the Times of Israel Daily Briefing, your 15-minute daily update on what's important in Israel, the Middle East, and the Jewish world. Listen to us Sunday through Thursday wherever you get your podcasts, or on the mothership, thetimesofisrael.com.
So going back to the festival, let's talk a little bit about what some of the events are, and then let's also talk about the awards, which, as you point out, are going to take place in early December. You have a real mix of events. There are chef's meals, there are tours in olive orchards and in vineyards. There are some kosher meals. There are many that are also not. How do you make this kind of mix when you're putting this together? What are you looking to create for your audience?
So, as I said, first of all, it's a first year. So we really try to curate different kind of events and not only dinner in a restaurant, but everything is an original content. Everything was made especially for us, and usually for one evening or just one meeting, and it can be very personal. Sometimes it's the opportunity and a great occasion to meet a great chef or to do a hummus demo with the Kosem that is very, very known. Also for the hummus book he wrote with Orly Pali Borstein, so they're doing a demo and a talk about it. But you can also find the biggest chef that influence and describe the Israeli cuisine, like Ezra Kedem in En Karem, nearby Jerusalem, or Erez Komrovsky in his home in Matat, back up north.
Up north, right.
Up north. Chaim Cohen is doing one kosher meal in the King David Hotel in Jerusalem. Ran Shmueli also is doing a kosher from the Claro restaurant. He's doing a kosher meal in Dan Acadia Resort. Raz Rahav from OCD. It's a restaurant you can get a place, and it's also a non-kosher restaurant. So it's an opportunity also for people that would like to
keep kosher.
To keep kosher. And also there are meeting and chef talks and meeting with those people. You have lots of market tour in Nazareth, Akko, Haifa, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. So really people that are
all over the country.
The market tour along with those food stalls, but also with the street food, because the street food is really, really important in the Israeli scene, in our identity. We eat a lot back there in the street, actually, because we have a great weather most of the year, and we are always looking for a good value for money. So the street food scene, which is it's very interesting. As I told you, Gal Ben Moshe from Berlin is coming next week with a pop-up, a real Michelin star, 17 dishes, tasting menu with wine pairing. It's going to be great. And Tomer Tal, George Vejon, Avivit and Luna. Avivit is the chef, the owner of Uzeria, and Luna Zriek from Nazareth. They are doing like a back-to-back dinner, the Arab Palestinian and the Israeli interpretation for the same dishes. So it's really, really unique. Zuzuchana in Magdalena up north near the Kinneret. So wow, a lot, and we have some of the events are free. Some are quite expensive also because they are very unique.
Sure.
In Jerusalem, you find Fringe Restaurant, Tzemach, Mona, Jaco Street. So it's really, really rich. As I told you, it's like 50
events.
50 events.
So let me ask you this. There's fewer kosher events, which makes sense because there's fewer kosher restaurants that are of the same level, let's say, as the chef restaurants that you have in Tel Aviv. But I'm curious, how do you make the decision of deciding to take a chef like Chaim Cohen and have him do a kosher event in the King David? How do you mix that? How do you make those decisions?
So first of all, the Dan Hotels are also a sponsor of this festival, and we had in mind to do those unique culinary weekends in the few of the Dan Hotels. Actually, you have a lot. You have a dinner with a big chef. Followed the next day, you have also a music concert with Israeli singers and band, and you have a market tour and tasting menu and tasting of wine and cocktails. So you have many things during those weekends. And the idea was again to bring a few of the biggest Israeli chefs that are influencing the Israeli cuisine and bring them to do a kosher meal. I think it's really an opportunity. You don't have to, to punish people that eat kosher, but I think it is a great occasion to eat from those chefs' hands and also to meet them in a very, I would say, almost a personal way, because it's like between 180 to 220 people in each of the dinner, and the chef is going to be there, and some of them, are talking and speaking to the people, explaining their source of inspiration, exactly, about the menu. So it's very, very interesting, and I'm very happy those chefs agreed.
So tell us about the awards. It sounds a little bit like you're getting into James Beard territory in the States. Is that the idea? To finally really put a stamp on Israeli cuisine?
It's really a way to say thank you, bravo, and especially after this year. Well, I guess we're going to do it every year, but especially after this COVID year, I think people sometimes really need to hear it's not about the competition, it's not an ego thing. It's not who is the biggest, the best, but I think, people are working very hard. And sometimes to have a prize and to be awarded, I think it's important. Actually, I really think it's important. And we are very happy to do it.
And then going back, you mentioned that there's events and meals in Nazareth, in Haifa, with Arab and Palestinian chefs. I'm curious if that was something that was complicated to arrange, was obvious to arrange. I'm actually also thinking about the fact that Sami Tamimi, the Palestinian chef who worked closely with Yotam Ottolenghi, is coming to Israel for the first time in like 17 years. So I'm just sort of thinking about all those relationships, and I'm mixing apples and oranges a little bit, but I'm wondering from your perspective, what is the reaction of Palestinian chefs who are very active in the Israeli food scene to participating in this event?
Okay, so first of all, I must say Sami Tamimi is not coming for the festival.
Yes, he's not. Thank you for pointing that out.
It's not a part of the festival. It's another event. For me, it's obvious. I mean, I have Arab Palestinian friends. I must say, we don't have real chefs from Palestine, the territories. I mean, from Ramallah or Nablus, not yet. I hope, maybe in a few years, because still the name of the Israeli Cuisine Festival, not everybody likes it. And I'm okay with that. If people need their own definition of identity, and we are in this area, it is very, very delicate sometimes. And of course, some of the Arab Israeli, there are Israeli Arab, not Palestinian, didn't want to take part because of their audience. And some actually understand, of course, they live in Israel, they are Israeli, sometimes they teach in Israel, they work in Israel, they enjoy the Israeli people to come all over, no matter what religion or background you have. And I think it's not even an issue for me. I mean, we live here together, and I know people like to see let's come together and peace and love through food is excellent. I'm not trying to sell those ideas. Food is not going to bring peace. It's always very. It's very interesting actually to have sometimes this sometimes the two tradition, like I told you, one chef from Nazareth and a chef from Tel Aviv. I'm just looking. I'm looking for the. I like people. I'm a citizen of the world, and I don't even look. Where do you come from? What is your religion? And I'm happy that there are few that, of course, are taking part because they understand they are Israeli as well, and they are a part of the Israeli cuisine, of course. And I told you before, we have lots of of Arab and Palestinian influences in our
right.
in our food, and it's okay,
Right.
In America, pasta and pizza, you can't say no, it's Italian. No, it's American food today, and in many countries, the croissant is from Austria, Vienna. It's not French. So what? Who cares? Sometimes after so many years in one area, it's geopolitics and it's identity issues. I'm being very proud of the area we live here. I love the people that live here, all of them, and let's just eat together and forget about
eat good food together.
And only good food for
only
me.
Good food.
Only good food.
Here's one of my last questions for you is, how many of these events are you going to go to? I mean, how many?
Ooh.
How does someone like you handle this?
So it's just the producer of the festival was just asking me today, and I hope to be in 80% of the events. Yeah, because I must tell you, I'm proud of each one of them. I love the people really that are behind every of those events, and I really think they are unique, and I hope I can get to be in all of them. But I know that sometimes I can't really do it, but in most of them, I'm going to be to watch it as a proud father.
So that means that you could be at how many events in the course of one evening or one day? That could be
sometimes
multiple.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes 3 or 4. Yeah. And sometimes in different cities, but sometimes it's coming to give a big hug to the chef before and hear the briefing. Always, I must say, to test something, a small bite.
Just a little
before,
taste.
Just a little bite, and do a story for the Instagram. And but some of them are really taking part, really emotionally also. And so I'm going to stay more. And sometimes it's also watching the people, that are coming, our guests, because I feel all of them. All of you, all the people that bought tickets are like my guests, and I want it to be successful and people to eat well, have fun, and have great memories, because all those events also are one of the best memories I think people can have today are through food and a meeting with somebody, or a romantic dinner with a good wine, and a special dinner or a market tour like we have are really a good memory to have.
Right. There's nothing like a good meal with good friends. I would agree.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well,
I must ask you the same question, Jessica.
What am I going to go to?
How many events are you coming to,
I don't know. I'm always very drawn to the tours. That's always a big draw for me. And I love street food. I'm more interested generally in the more casual events. I find that's what my eye goes to, the more casual events than to the more formal many course events. Of course, Michelin starred meals are nothing to sneeze at, because I've had a couple of meals with Michelin star chefs, and they are something to behold. There's nothing quite like it, really. And then the other opportunity that I think that you really offer is this opportunity to go to meals in different parts of the country, because that always gives you a different feeling, not just focusing on Tel Aviv or Jerusalem where I live, but really making yourself take a drive somewhere and go somewhere that you haven't actually been before. That's always a good one.
So I think you should just come with me, actually.
I'm thinking I should just tag after you.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be like my assistant for the festival.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay,
no problem.
You're here.
Excellent.
Great.
I won't be doing podcasts or museum tours for a while. So David's going to be needing me. Well, it has been such a pleasure having you, Kishka. Really, it's an honor, and we're excited to really help launch this event, and hope that a lot of our listeners get to go try some of the events out. And if they don't make it this year, then next year.
Exactly. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for being with us on this issue of Times Will Tell. Signing off.
Hi, it's Sarah Tuttle Singer from the Times of Israel. Come join our community and support fast and fair independent journalism. You can sign up with the link at the bottom of every single article on the site.
Thank you so much for listening to Times Will Tell, and a special thanks to TLV1 Studios for sound production help. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to Times Will Tell on all podcast platforms.